is living on site now in his RV, started living in the RV, it gave me a vision. So I would rather live in his RV than a little shelter with a porta potty and a portable shower outside. I have a real bed, I have real appliances, I have a real bathroom.
Right.
And so what I'm pursuing right now is, and this is where I am in the process, is trying to get quotes from plumbers and electricians where we're going to try and run 2 full service campsites there, basically, if you've ever camped with full services. So we'll run a extension and have sewer hookups at 2 locations there. We'll have a little separate 20 amp outlet box, which is what the city says I have to have at each location, and we'll have water supply. And then that person can be in an RV or a camper or whatever, and they can have full access to everything. They can flush their toilets, they can take showers, they can run water, they can cook soup, they can sleep in a real bed. And we'll have, and what we're thinking we would do is buy smaller units, probably 18-foot travel trailers, and lock them down and register them non-op. And then, so we would rotate people through that system of care I described earlier.
Right.
And then as they leave, we just evaluate the unit, and hopefully it's been taken care of. And, obviously we're monitoring it.
Right.
And then we go through and thoroughly clean it all and everything and just bring the next person in.
Wow.
So, and we're going to vet all these clients through the local county homeless services as much as we can, because I have a lot of ties there, and they're good. They want anything they can get to help.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get a medical care. It's easy. I got people, I have a congregation of maybe 50 people on a Sunday before COVID. Now, weirdly, I have a congregation of about 200 plus people online. It's weird. I think you'd see that with any church, is you're seeing a massive expansion.
Yeah, I did some research, but I think, I would like to say yes.
Yeah. Now what'll happen after this will be, that's why I'm determined not to go back to church as usual. But even when I had 50 people, and even when I first started here, and it was a lot of, then it was about 30 people, and it was mostly elderly people. The church was kind of failing. When I mentioned this heart of mine, I didn't mention we wanted to do it, but I have a heart for doing this. And I had one woman come up and say, if we ever get this going, I want to run a clothing pantry here. It doesn't have to be anything big, but I'll take care of it. And I had someone else say, I want to run a food pantry here. I will take care of everything.
Excellent. Well, that's that's really the power of when you have a strong vision, when you have that convicted heart and a strong vision. And good vision is infectious. Passion is infectious.
Right.
And when you can when you're just honest with people and say, hey, this is what I have a heart for, I'm here. And then all of a sudden, it's amazing the people that are brought to you.
Right.
That are just willing to serve. And I think that's one of the biggest, the big ask that a lot of, whether it be pastors or nonprofits or a lot of people in general, it's that big ask. And then you feel like, I don't want to burden people with asking them to come on board. Right. But you'd be so surprised. People want to be part of the Catalyst conference for change. And
easy plug for Andy.
Easy plug. There you go.
There you go.
And by the way, I saying that Andy Stanley thing, which I'm going through the whole series
because I'm a loser, but
it's phenomenal.
I listen to his podcast. Andy Stanley, if you'd like to support Across the Table podcast, we would welcome that.
Absolutely. And he actually, the message, this is all going to tie together, that he was speaking, that I was listening to as he spoke a couple months ago. But he dropped this phrase and he said, the church and the church leaders, what's supposed to happen is this culturally disruptive unity.
Yes.
That everyone is so unified and so together, no matter what political or any mindset you have, that it forces culture to change around you. It forces the change of heart and culture because they're so weirded out by it. And I really think that, obviously, us being friends for so long and going through a lot of these things together, or at least seeing each other and being in contact with that, I wholeheartedly believe that when we get more people with vision, more people with passion, more people with a hope for a future, and can build that into them, that's how you change the world.
Yeah.
And it just starts with little conversations. Because I know there are conversations we've had, there are conversations I've had with some other people, whether it be from Creekside or Exchange or anywhere, that have just, it could have been something so little and insignificant to them, but it stands out in my mind, and it stood out in my mind, and it's something that I can continually go back to, almost like a life verse, but with actual quotes that you hear from people around you. And so, as we wrap up, because we've been doing, wow, this is a long podcast. I love it. It's going to be like a 4-parter. But what is one thing, I think one thing that maybe if you're more in the secular world and maybe you're not a person based in faith, what is one thing they could do or a step or initiative they can take in changing some of these things, or, whether it be big or small? And then on the opposite spectrum of that, as people with faith, what is something that, you or I could do that would actually
hesitate to say that that's the opposite. I think
I agree. I was gonna just whammy you and say, hey, I'll do it for both at once.
Okay, both at once. All right.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
Let's hit it. All right. What is something?
Yeah. So here's what happens. What I've learned over the years is that we need to keep it simple. Let me just say that. Let's just stick with homeless, for instance. Your concern might be church growth. Your concern might be company growth. Your concern might be the health of your family. I don't know what your concern is, but it's all the same. But look at this example. Think of the complicated homeless issue. Think of 7,000-ish homeless people growing older. Some of these are good, everybody's good, but some of these are elderly people that are just retiring and they're like deer in the headlights.
They were caught in that trap that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So think of 7,000 homeless people with 11 rehab beds and 400 homeless beds in dorm setups. Okay. Pretty overwhelming, right?
Right.
What are you going to do to solve that?
That's a lot. That's a big.
Absolutely not.
I think
I've got nothing.
Maybe we've had this conversation before too. Yeah.
Right.
But let me ask you this: how many churches do you think are in Contra Costa County?
Hundreds.
Maybe. I would guess thousands. But yeah.
Probably.
Hundreds.
Oh, Contra Costa County. I was literally just thinking like Concord Martinez.
How many have I passed?
Right.
You're right. You're right.
So how hard would it be for 7,000 people to find shelter within half of those churches, right? Because not every church is called to do this.
Right.
Or if you're a person that's just at home and you're, I guess you're non-faith community, or you're a faith person, but whatever it is, you have a backyard, how hard would it be to put a in-law unit in your backyard and earn some extra income, renting? If half the churches in Contra Costa County, let's say there's 1,000 churches in Contra Costa County. It's got to be more than that.
Yeah.
But let's say 1,000. If half of them said, hey, we want to do this crazy, basically full hookup campground idea Scott has or some version of it.
Right.
So you got 500 churches now. That's more. If you each put one person on your campus, which is pretty manageable. That's what I have on mine right now. Right. In an affluent neighborhood with no complaints. I haven't had a single complaint now in a month and a half of him being there.
Nice.
We would actually have 500 spots, which is more than what the homeless shelter capacity is.
Right.
Now, if you're able to do 2,
boom,
we would have quadrupled the capacity of the county.
And that's just churches, never mind other places that have this infrastructure.
No in-law units in the backyard. That's whatever.
Yeah.
And some churches have told me, look, we've got this whole big piece of land. If we could figure it out, let's put your nomadic community back there. So we want to house 20 people, whatever. I'm not so sure I agree with that now because caseworking, a group dynamic instead of individuals is different. But anyway, that gets
it's not a place to start. It's
I think what we need to do is the world has become increasingly complex. This is the discussion that also kind of ties this whole podcast together because, we're talking about, I lived in this other generation that had life very different than you guys have it right now. Mm. The world has become increasingly overcomplicated and it doesn't need to be.
Preach it, Pastor.
Preach it. We just need to look for simple solutions. Yeah. Even I'm looking for a way to do an entire community of homeless people and basically creating another homeless shelter. And then I end up with saying I can house 2 people here easy. And I just showed how you could quadruple the homeless beds in the county. And I'm just talking homelessness, right?
Right.
Mm. If I had 2 people here, so let's say 2 guys each living in a trailer outside. If they needed clothes and I had their clothing size, what do you think would be the response in a little 50-person church where, hey, one of our clients needs underwear. who would like to buy a pack of underwear and bring it to me this week? We would probably have 30 packs of underwear in my office and it'd be awkward. We're supporting these 2 people with food. So when you go to Sam's Club or Costco, because that's the way apparently Americans buy now, just pick up an extra pack of canned corn. Just pick up an extra loaf of bread, whatever. Just bring it on Sunday.
Right.
Or bring it during the week. I'm here all week, that kind of thing. The food, there'd be too much food. Right. So we can take care of this problem. And again, it doesn't matter if you're a church member or a business person or whatever, a school teacher, whatever. There are ways to do this. If you had a in-law unit in your backyard, it increases the value of your property. You get an income, hint. And you don't even have to have contact with that person if you don't want to, which is the way our world is right now, right? And so you've provided a home for somebody, and you've benefited from it.
Right.
So there's some easy workarounds here, and we need to really encourage ourselves and our government and whoever else we need to talk to just keep it simple, right?
Right.
Because we're overcomplicating this, and it's because there's 7,000 homeless people. I just want to freak out when I think about that. And I'm the guy who's been used to doing it. Yeah. What about the person who's terrified because they've had terrible experiences?
Well, and it's hard for, I think, a lot of people to quantify 7,000 people.
Yeah, you can't picture that number in objects.
I know at Callus and an Orange conference I got to go to as well. Like, you had 7,000 people there, and it's like, you look and you're like, everyone here homeless.
What can the average football stadium hold, I wonder?
Tens of thousands.
Really?
Yeah.
Definitely hold the homeless population. I don't think that's necessarily
the entire,
Yeah. Which would actually be bad. There's some bad parts of communities too. We all know that. But here's a simple solution. Buy 2 $6,000-ish travel trailers. Hook them up to your water hose, and you can't do that because of the city thing. But put in utilities for maybe another $3,000 to $5,000, and you've housed 2 people. Right. So you're for less than probably $20,000.
Yeah.
But we got to add in city permits, so less than $40,000. Right. But you're making a tangible difference in 2 people's life, and then if you can use that to encourage other people to think simple too, then you've got hundreds of, in my case, churches doing the same thing.
Right.
And then what happens to life if you're at home with the in-law unit in your backyard? You've got, say, $500 a month that you never had before, just for dealing with maybe an occasional issue or something. And maybe you've got to pay you a little more utility. So maybe you're getting $300 to $400 a month. But you've got $300 to $400 free dollars a month, and the value of your home has significantly increased.
Right.
If churches would band together and do this, and this is what we're called to do. Jesus said, the Bible has a scripture that says true religion is this: taking care of widows and
James, baby,
in their distress. Is it James?
It's James. It's James 1.
And James is my favorite book of the Bible. I'm terrified to say.
Yeah.
So, widows and orphans, the homeless are without families. They're orphans. They have no support structure. I mean, this is very clear a call from Jesus. And so I would encourage any pastor that's out there, especially, or church member, to get on this. And think about what the world would do if they saw that places of faith. I'm working with synagogues as well, and Buddhist meditation centers and stuff. Think if we really showed that we really do care about people, that we're not actually just out to take your money, which we're not, but it's hard to say that or to prove that. We're not out just to build bigger buildings or flashier AV or audio video or whatever it is. We're actually here to help people and to make our lives, and especially their lives, better. Imagine the media for the church in a society where, like you had said, Kyle, faith is really about bringing people together, the power of unifying and having a purpose. And I'm misquoting you, but I'm allowed to do that. That is what faith is about to some degree. And so it brings everybody into a vision that really makes them proud of their life, because they're doing better in their lives. They have something tangible and real to make a difference in, to be a catalyst in the world with. they can look back and say, yeah, I did that. And it wasn't even about me. And I did that. And I love it. And the churches would actually be seen for taking care of people for a change. If the churches of Contra Costa County could wipe out the homeless issue in a week. Like if we would just each buy 2 travel trailers, and we're allowed to legally do this, that's what, slows it down. But if we each bought even 1 trailer and put it on our campus, if every church in Contra Costa County just bought 1 trailer and put it on their campus and figured out a way to manage that, homelessness in Contra Costa County would immediately be wiped out.
Wow.
Actually, the county homeless services would probably have to fold.
Wow. Okay.
Think of all the money being spent on county homeless services that could go to other things.
Yeah.
My county homeless service people, I'm really sorry I'm not ratting you out here. You do a great job. I think
That's
even
true,
you
yeah.
would want to be out of a job. And we'd be making some real change in people's lives. Right.
So what's for folks say, if folks listening to this after the whole Corona thing, we can actually go about our days, lives as normal. What's something they can do if they're hearing this and that inspires them to help? Just one thing that they can do today.
Yeah. So it's post-coronavirus. You can even do it today before coronavirus is over. If you're, I'm going to start with people of faith. If you're a pastor, do this. Just do it. It's not that hard. Contact your local city government. Tell them, I want to do this. I want to put an RV, or for you, it might be a tiny home or a shelter, whatever. You want to do this. Is it okay? I'm just going to do this.
Is it okay? I'm just gonna do it.
I'm gonna encourage you. I know I'm not being very illiterate here. I've been in home in my PJs.
Right? I haven't had to communicate with people.
They're not PJs. They're house pants.
They're house pants.
There you go.
Only if you have them on. Okay, so but pastors out there listening to this, please consider doing something like this. Please consider contacting me. My email is the number 4 and then pastorscott@gmail.com. It's not that hard.
We'll link that for you if you like.
We'll
That'd
link
be great.
in the description.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get hold of me and we can download some more. I don't have all the answers, but I've been beating my head against the wall for 2 years. I can keep you from building up the forehead callus. It's really ugly. If you're a person attending a place of faith out there, please push into this a little bit too. You too are welcome to contact me, but also contact your church leaders. I think you might be surprised, a lot of you, to hear your pastors go, whoa, this could be great. I think you'd be surprised. Maybe you were surprised to think in your own minds, hey, this is great. I want to be part of this. And then maybe you can talk to other people in your faith community and get them excited too. It's what Kyle was saying about having a positive, vigorous, leadership vision, that people want to follow. If you're not a person of faith out there, it really doesn't matter. The things don't change. You just don't really have a facility to put a trailer on, or maybe you do.
Well, if you do, there's your answer anyway.
Yeah, there's your answer anyway. But you can also be in front of the city council boards. Just know that, I think I would encourage you not to approach them as the enemy, because they're not. Their hands are tied too. You can.
From what you said, it sounds like they want to do this.
Yes.
It's just
red tape. I would really. I think that churches are kind of places of faith, actually, in general, are kind of uniquely equipped to take care of the individual people from an initial standpoint, because you're dealing with people with a lot of issues, right?
Right.
Now, who tends to go to church? People with a lot of issues and others, right?
Me.
But, me. But so we're used, as a pastor, I'm also a trained counselor. I'm used to this stuff to some degree. Do I want to always do it? No. I wish God, on many days, God hadn't put this calling on my life for homeless ministries. I don't want to do it. I got other things I'm more passionate about, but I'm doing it because He's called me. But I think that the power of the places of faith are uniquely positioned to be able to handle that kind of a clientele. They're coming off the streets wounded and broken. And also, I think it's what we've been commissioned to do. If you're a synagogue, you have the Hebrew scriptures, the Old Testament, it's the same God. It's about taking care of people. If you're Muslim, it's the same. If you're Christian, it's the same. If you're Buddhist, whatever it is, we all want to take care of people, and we're uniquely positioned to do that. And we have a unique global network that kind of wants to do it, or at least are commissioned to do it, whereas private individuals may not be. What would be helpful for other people to do is really work on the other end. So the gentleman living in the RV in my alley right now can't stay there forever. Not only would it not be good for here, but I wouldn't be able to put someone else out there to help them along. And it's really not good for him, probably long term. Who wants to live in the alley of a church? Not me. And I'm a pastor who spends most of his life here anyway.
Right.
We need to develop some, they call it high density housing. We need to start forcing our developers to respond to the need for high density housing. Across the street here, we have a new development going in of houses, and they actually make the current quota for high density because about, I don't know, I think there's 17 houses going in over there or something, but I think 4 of them have units built into the house that can be run as separate units. They have their own separate bathroom,
so almost
kitchen,
a duplex.
Yeah, but it's actually a big house. They're gonna run in the 700,000 range.
Okay.
But the idea there, really, the way they're gonna market it to people, they've already started, is, hey, you can move in here, and if you have that in-law that has to live with you, they can have their own unit. Okay. Even though it's in your house, it's somewhat detached. It's almost like having a basement with all facilities.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that's how they're getting around high density. So
it's as if they're getting around it. They're doing
they
this
are
deliberately
intentionally getting
have
around
that.
it.
Okay.
They would not have put
like
even
that.
those in if they didn't have to. And so there are ways to get around. We got to start pressuring the politicians in particular and the developers. They work hand in hand, because what the politicians can do is they can create legislation that really knocks down a lot of the cost of building a structure to the developer.
Right.
So the developer has to charge a lot because of all the permitting and all this stuff. You know, we did a remodel at my last church that was $200,000, and it was over $400,000 by the time we were done, that the government added on to us in permits and other required things. So it's ridiculous. And so if the legislation, the politicians can try and look for ways to incentivize developers, and then developers can agree to that and look for ways to build high density micro unit apartment complexes that are beautiful, we'll have plenty of housing for everybody, and it'll be affordable, and everybody wins.
There's your plan right there. I love it.
But you got to start somewhere, right? Because you're obviously asking me, what can you do? Like, what can you just go do today? That's a much bigger picture, so I don't know.
That's fair. Also, there's a tendency, and this is so cynical saying this, but what can I do today? You've done that thing, and now you're done.
You're done. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things you could do, and you're speaking about politicians and kind of the red tape and moving those, one of the simplest things you can do, and I think a lot of us have thought about it or do it in other regards, just write your local legislators or your state legislators, write them a letter. Just communicate with them. And even if you feel like that's not, like, you feel like you didn't do anything, what you're doing is, if you and 500 other people send it, like, that's over 500 people that are then speaking to the legislator about this. Just a little note. So write your state legislator. Maybe get in contact with one of the local nonprofits, whether it be a place of faith, or maybe you are a business owner and you have some kind of connections. Just start talking. Just start dreaming. Start envisioning. And
if business owners would come along and grant nonprofits money, just find a nonprofit you love. Yeah. Whatever it is, and figure out a way to make a tax deductible donation, then do it, But and how do we communicate things to the world around us right now? Just the 3 of us when we're at home. How do we do that?
Podcast.
Yeah. Podcasts, Twitter, Instagram.
You got your Facebook Live.
So here's the thing, just the completely ridiculous. But you've got your World of Warcraft thing. You're talking to your raid buddies all the time.
By the way, I met a pastor in World of Warcraft. I met a pastor in World of Warcraft, and we're buddies.
Nice. I'm tempted, but I'm not going to do it. If you see a paladin that looks weird and
it's me,
sounds familiar, it's probably me. I was going to say, wow.
There you go. Right. See, what is it with all y'all in the paladins? Whatever. Because they're cool. Anyway, but I mean, that's just talking to people, have conversations with everyday people. You're doing it through your medium. Just social media. That is in a weird way, kind of that, but just talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? If you're sitting at home right now and you're not connected to anything, get online, go see my friend, Mr. Google. I remember when that came out. I'm sad to say. I remember my English professor at DVC going, okay, students, I really want you to check out this new site. It's not as good as Yahoo, but it's getting there.
No.
And it's got a funny name. But anyway, but get on Google and do some research. You know, we're all internet junkies. So type in.
You're on the internet right now if you're listening.
Yeah. Type in things like high density housing. Type in micro apartments. Start thinking about these things. Start putting these on your social media and talking to other people about it. You ever get a great idea that's not out in the world and like it becomes like a saying you have or a way you do something and all of a sudden everybody's doing it and you're pretty sure that it came from you.
It started with you, but you can't be like, that was me.
That was me.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Like, start these things, you know. I think the easiest, okay, I'm finally going to answer your question. I think the easiest on-ramp is to just do your own research for high density micro housing. And if you agree with what you're seeing or it opens your eyes and you go, oh my gosh, I could rent a place better than what I'm squatting in right now for less money. Start really digging into that and just go nerdy, go conspiracy theory, do whatever you have to do and get this out there, you know, and start encouraging your friends to do the same.
Nice. Well, Scott, it's been so wonderful being on the sit here. I think we're actually at about 2 hours right now, which is freaking phenomenal. But thank you so much for sharing, you know, your heart and giving us a lot of that wisdom. Dylan, it's great actually being able to sit down with you across the table from somebody else.
There we go.
And for those of you wondering, we also have new artwork done by Katie Berkoff. Link to her Instagram will be in the description below. I think it's super great, and I'm hoping to commission her for some of the White Savior movie stuff as well. But anyway, for the time being, we have been Kyle, Scott, and Dylan. This is Across the Table. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We will talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Boom, we're good.